Hi, my name is Allison Cooper. I am a program delivery partner for First in Alaska. So I am coming to you to conduct a little bit of First Legally code and mentor training. So if you're a coach or a mentor, a parent that wants to help out a little bit, this is the right training for you. So, dive right in, dive right in. Okay. Okay. This is me, Austin Cooper. Mitchell is with AmeriCorps, JV AmeriCorps, and he is helping us out. Okay, so we're going to talk real quick about the mission first. International program, great big, 111 countries the last I checked. So we manage it for the state of Alaska here at JADC. And basically, we're just trying to get kids familiar with and comfortable with science, technology, innovation, get them excited about that. So that's the goal. We use robotics to do it. This is the hook. This is the mechanism we use to get them excited. Core values are going to come up over and over again when you're dealing with First. We really do these things. We really live this. Kids are judged on this. There's a judging as part of this, which we'll talk about later. But we really do live these things. It's awesome to work with people who live by these core values and work in an organization where this is just the expectation. So this video, I'm not going to play it for you. A couple minutes long. It's a great video to show your parents or anyone else who's interested in the program. It just gives a great overview of First Lego League in general. So all the programs, pre-K all the way to 8th graders. And so go to YouTube about First Lego League, pull that up. Haven't seen it yet. Or if you want to show that to parents or anybody else who might be interested in it. So what are we talking about? What is this first thing? For inspiration and recognition of science and technology. Inspiration is a key word there. We want to inspire them. We want them to be excited about what they're doing and excited about STEM, excited about all of the things that we are bringing before them. So we have programs for pre-K all the way to 12th graders. So First Lego League has Discover, which is their Duplos. And Explore, FLL Explore, they build. It's mostly a building, and then they use a robot kit to make it move. And they're and Discover and Explore and Challenge are all using the same theme every year now. So this year's theme is Submerged, super fun. And so they all have a submarine, and they have all those sorts of oceanic themed things. And then First Tech Challenge, our high schoolers, most of the high schoolers in Alaska that do robotics are First Tech Challenge kids. And they are building larger robots. They have to fit into an 18-inch cube, and they can use all kinds of parts, and they have a really good time, and it's so cool to see what those kids can do. And then FRC, they use a much larger robot. It's a more expensive program. We have one team in Alaska right now, and they go down south and play. But those are the programs, and those are all over the world again. All right. I am bad at remembering. Okay, I'm gonna reach across. Maybe not. There it is. Okay, so JDC manages the statewide program. So it's an international program. It's about 111 countries I saw last week. And we hopefully still have highest per capita of any state participation at First. I haven't been able to crunch numbers for last year. This is where we have teams. So each region has somebody that runs it in their area. JDC runs it for Alaska. Next. But we have teams. We're going to run another tournament in Ugagric for all the North Slope teams.
Bethel, Kenai.
Yeah, Bethel has its own. They have a big culture of First in Bethel, which is kind of crazy. But there you go. They take the frozen, the snowmobiles down the frozen river. And they run their tournament. It's great. All right, so we're gonna talk specifically about First Lego League today. Just quick overview. Duplo, kit down there for little tiny kids. First Lego League Explorer is something that can be run in our elementary schools pretty easily, or just families or whoever. And then First Lego League Challenge is what we're gonna do today. Okay, so sorry, puns are gonna happen this year. It's just brace yourself. First is very big on bad jokes and puns. Okay, so we're gonna start by just talking about what is the goal? Where's the end? Where are you headed? We're gonna talk about tournaments. Our tournament in Juneau is gonna be December 14th at Centennial Hall. It is big, it is loud, we take over the place. We have a play-by-play announcer. We have it projected up on screens. They don't do that everywhere. They do in Juneau. And it's designed to be a very crazy, loud, fun celebration. That's what the day is like. It's a long day, but it's super fun. It's gonna start with your team coming in the front door, setting up the pit. Everybody gets a table, their team's gonna have a table, and that's where they camp for the day. They'll get their laptop out and their stuff, get it all set up. They may display posters, or they may just try to keep things organized and not make too much of a mess. Whatever. Coaches meeting. An opening ceremony is not gonna be in the morning. That'll be later generally. That'll be right before the robot games start. So in the morning, we have judging session. We'll talk about the judging session. You'll have a practice run where your kids can come up to the game table and go through the entire sequence of how that will work with the referees. And so the refs can score them and show them how that will all take place. So they get the feel of it, get some jitters out, get a chance to talk to referees to make sure what they think is going to count is really going to count. And then in the afternoon, we have the opening ceremony and three real robot matches. Only the highest one counts, which is one of my favorite things. And then we'll have a big closing award ceremony, the medal ceremony, some trophies, lots of cheering. It's loud. The DJ. I'm gonna try to book it early this year because I'm always behind on that. But it's great. You won't feel ready. If you started 2 months ago, you would feel more ready, but you won't feel ready. I've never felt ready for a tournament in my life. So you just take what you have and you go and you have fun. You want the kids to have something to take to the game, to the table that they can run to do missions. And you make the best of that. When I'm there, I'm the cheerleader. I pick them up when things go badly. Yeah, that was awesome. And when it goes well, and that's what I do. Okay, robot game is the part you see. Everybody knows about the robot game when they think of First Lego League. They get 3 matches. They're 2.5 minutes long. You're basically 3, 2, 1, Lego. Yes, we say that. And it goes out and it comes back and your kids will grab it and make a change and send it out again. And they have 2.5 minutes to do whatever it is they're doing to try to score as many points as they can. Top one is the one that counts. If there's a tie, the second one and stuff. But otherwise, only the first one counts. So your robot goes out and totally tanks. That happens. Great. It comes back and you're like, it doesn't matter. You have 2 more tries. It just has to be better than the last one. One of the things I love, so the robot game,
A couple copies of them.
yeah, and so all of the rules are in this robot game rulebook. Robot game rulebook. It's written for the kids. The kids should be able to figure out what to do, how this thing works. And there's some wording in there that talks about, basically, don't read more into this than it says. We want the kids to be creative with their solutions and to be
be kids, think outside the box. You know, we're adults. We see a lever, must push the lever. They're kids. We don't want them to think like that. We want them to go, well, what if you just? So basically, if it doesn't say that you have to do a specific way, then you don't. So it just lays out the groundwork of this is exactly what must happen for you to score. And then if the rule book doesn't say that you can't do something, you totally can do that.
Yeah.
They'll put out some updates and some guidance.
Which are
So
also
sometimes kids will come up with something that they didn't even think of, and they're like, ooh, we need to clarify that. But almost never have I seen them disallow anything that like a solution the kids have come up with that. It normally just kind of clarifies something so that there is guidance for the rest. And they'll be very careful not to give away a strategy when they do that, but sometimes you're like, wait, there's a strategy I'm missing here, hang on. Okay, so you're gonna score points by successfully completing missions that are laid out in this robot game rule. And the tables in the other room, we'll go in and look at that in a minute.
You guys on Zoom will be able to see that too. We're gonna have a camera set up and be able to walk through. That'll be the last probably half hour.
We're gonna go mobile. So these are the mission models. You're gonna get these things to build. And we'll talk about it a little bit later, but just a reminder, the idea is that all over the world, everyone has the exact same mission models. So you need yours to work exactly like the ones that we're gonna build and have at Centennial Hall. Or at any other tournament that you're going to.
And caveat there, I'm going to build, but I think caveat there, I'm going to build. I feel like it's probably gonna be my.
Well, we'll see if we can get some high school teams on a little outreach.
Maybe.
Okay, so I mentioned a judging session. There is a 30-minute judging session. Some of my kids like the innovation project and the judging session more than the robot game. The idea with the judging session is that it's a chance for the judges to find out, how did your season go? What all did you do? How did you work together? How did you, so there's an innovation project, which we'll talk about. There's a robot design, which is not just the robot, but also the coding and like, how did you choose which missions you were gonna do and all that kind of stuff.
How the team worked together in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And so the judges are gonna ask questions, but the kids are gonna present as well. So this is a flow chart that tells you the kids have 2 minutes to come in. They can introduce themselves or not. I recommend they at least introduce themselves, like what team they are. Mine tend to come in and go, what? We're the Extra Top Girls. My name is, you know. Some come in with a cheer, some just come in. That's also your time to set up. So part of the thing you need to know with judging is everything has to be done by the kids, including setup. So if your kids have some fancy thing and they're gonna show a PowerPoint and they have to be able to set up. So, and they have a short time. So they got 2 minutes to come in and like introduction, set up. They've got 5 minutes to present their innovation project, which we'll talk about. That is, and ends up being the favorite for a lot of kids. Robot, and then there's 5 minutes of question and answer. The judges are going to ask them questions to clarify and to make sure they have all the information they need to fill out the rubrics, which we'll mention in a minute too. And then robot design. Lots of times the kids will have a presentation of some kind. They don't have to. Ideally, they come in and they say, you know, here's our robot and we built it based on, may have used another design. I encourage that for, especially at the beginning, especially if you're this far in the season. I have not had good success with my kids building from scratch. I just haven't. But they'll take a design, give credit to whoever designed it, and then tell them what changes they made and what features are on it and why they chose that one and that kind of stuff. If they don't come right out and say it, the judges are going to ask some questions to get that kind of information from them. And then the judges are gonna ask them some questions and talk to them about how they make decisions as a team, or have you ever had a conflict and how did you guys work around that? You wanna see what kind of dynamics are in the team.
A big part of the judging session is judging those core values that were at the beginning of the presentation. It's kind of a roundabout way of not only talking and kind of judging the innovation project and the robot design itself, but a lot of the last questions of like, how did you solve a problem, or was everybody involved in this? Did you enjoy it? Like all kind of things like that to kind of pull a little bit more out from the team in terms of like how they've worked through those core values and with those core values. I'm also realizing, and part of the updates and clarifications that are released with the robot game rulebook, this is actually the old version of the judging session
Oh, is it?
flowchart. There was a small update on the most recent updates and clarifications, which is on the resource page, which we'll get into, but that's one of those things that as you keep checking back, you'll see little tiny like updates and things that they make to like timing or little things like that for some of these.
All right. Should use the new one.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they're gonna go back to the last slide.
Sorry, yep.
And then they're gonna give your team some feedback. I loved your excitement about your innovation project and your how everyone was involved with choosing that. You might think about ways to let other people know about the solution that you came up with. So that kind of feedback. What we want from that judging session, two things. One is we need the judges to fill out those rubrics in a way that they can make some award decisions. They're judges, they're making award decisions. To me, the more important thing is we want every team to walk out of there going, that was great. Yeah, that was cool. They heard what we said. They were really interested in what we did. And that we want every team to feel good about the adults listening and hearing about the experience they had. We don't want them to all come out going, we were great and they're gonna score as high. That's not the idea. But we want them to all have a good experience in the judging room. Okay, that's the goal. Okay, and within everybody's not getting a 4. That doesn't help. But we want everybody to have a good experience in that judging room, in that communication. So when your kids are like, judges, judging, help them understand all of those judges, and especially in Juneau, I know those judges mostly. They're high school kids. Some of them are the like upper crust high school kids that have done this stuff. We kind of handpick the high schoolers if they're helping us as judges. Not too many of those high school kids. The high school coaches tend to be judges for us. Sometimes teachers, sometimes other community members that really like kids and want to hear from kids. That's what we're after, that experience.
Let's take a look at the
Okay.
rubrics, shall we?
So, yeah, so we're gonna pop onto the rubric. So you have
Yeah,
access to
you
the
can use
rubrics.
copies of those.
They are on the website. We're gonna show you where all of this stuff is later. So you can tell exactly what the judges are looking at and looking for. So when your kids are putting the innovation project together and they're like off in left field, working on some crazy costume. The costume's great. But keep pulling them back to, you can pull them back to the rubrics and they can look at that. So they can tell how well they're gonna do, or at least they can get an idea of it. Same with the robot design. What are they after? Okay, and then that feedback, that's what they're gonna write on. Great job. Here's what we liked. Here's what you might think about. And that form there is new this year. Okay, and for anybody online who's a seasoned coach, you will notice there was not a core values rubric. It is being incorporated, those little coggy
Cogwheels.
looking wheel things in those other 2 rubrics. Those line items are going to feed into the core values judging. So we are judging core values, we just don't have a separate rubric for it.
We'll touch base, and I think there's a slide on that later, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll get.
Okay. Innovation projects. So the idea with the innovation project is every year we hit a topic or we have a different topic. So last year we were masterpiece. It had to do with the integration of the arts into STEM. This year, we're doing the ocean. The naval officer loves it. So So we're talking about the oceans and we're talking about exploring the oceans. So the innovation project, the kids are gonna tackle that topic and find some problem. So every year it's different, right? 2 years ago it was energy. This year it's the oceans, exploring the oceans. Some problem, come up with an innovative solution and then share it. That's the general idea. So here it is. This season, your challenge is to dive into a problem. We're gonna dive and launch and all that, yeah. Faced by people who explore the oceans. Identify and research a problem related to exploring the oceans. And so this guidance, this thing on the right is a page out of the engineering.
Notebook, which is in the stack of.
You as a coach, 2 of them will come when you order when you register a team. But it's also online, so you don't have to wait for it. And you have the option to buy 10 more of these. Don't do it. You may or may not give each of your kids one of these. If you decide you're gonna do that, you can print them.
I would say you can print them for free. There's a big resource page which we'll show towards the end of this that has every single page that you guys have here physically. All these things that we're talking about are all completely free to download and print as like PDFs on their resource page. So there's
1 year, I think I used engineering notebooks for all my kids, but most people. I mean, it's really a decision, and we'll talk about the resources, but I wouldn't jump out and buy a bunch of those. So that was a page of the innovation project. It's also in this thing here that you have, and this is a quick and it's just called an overview. And it's on that page.
the innovation project is, it's connected in theme to the robot game and the robot design, but it's not something that one influences the other. It's not necessarily that they took their robot design, how would it help kind of research and fix a problem in the ocean. It's like concurrent to designing their robot and doing everything. This is almost just like a fun little like research project they're doing in tandem with it. So it's a little bit, it's not like, oh, this is why we designed our robot so it can solve this real world problem. They're kind of two different kind of
The way
processes.
that the game field relates is that all the mission models that are on the table have something to do with the theme and they can trigger some ideas for your kids. And so that is a way to help you come up with ideas on the innovation project. But you're right, you're not trying to use your robot to solve the innovation project. That's not the
Separate, yeah.
Okay, so your kids are gonna think about ocean exploration, basically, and come up with some problem that people that are exploring the oceans have. Does that sound broad? It's really broad. But it's designed to let the kids really be creative and come up with something that they get excited about. And then they're gonna design some kind of solution, if you will, to that and tackle that. They're gonna have 5 minutes to present it. That can be presented however they want it live. They need to be in person, but they can use a bit of a video, but it can't be entirely video. So I have Girl Scouts, it usually involves a skate, okay. PowerPoint, they can do, pretend like they're newscasters. They can do just reading from a script, going down, really sky's the limit, whatever they want to do. Keeping in mind, as they look at the rubrics, the more creative it is, that helps. If it's engaging, that's, plus, et cetera. So, but this is where they can get excited and interested and have fun with it. Costumes are great. Sometimes it's very professional looking and stuff, and sometimes, my oldest daughter was the lettuce fairy 1 year. And dang if that team didn't, they were second place champions. Like, okay, the lettuce fairy, it was great.
Next. Move on. Which color?
Let's see.
So sort of along the same lines of looking at the core values, if you look at the rubric and they talk about the innovation, a lot of it talks about their ability to research and their experience developing the solution, what they learn and working together and iterating and testing. different things in kind of theoretical space. And again, it's not anything super intensive. It is only 5 minutes they get to present about it. So it's not like it's gonna be this big 45-minute presentation they have to do on their innovation project. So it's a small part, but it is a very important and fun part for a lot of the kids. Move to the next slide.
Yep. Okay, robot design. They just wanna know how they came up with what they came up with. And the process. It's very much about the process. So that's something we struggle with a lot. Kids don't like show your work, the whole thing, yeah. And we want the kids to show their work. So it's great. And that's one of the reasons the engineering notebook even exists, is for them to figure out a way to document how they came up with what they do. So you can figure out or have your kids, like at the end of every practice, what did we do? Or, make notes of how did they document this. My team has, I say my team like it's one team, but over time, of course, it evolves drastically. They tend to do a tripod board sometimes, where they'll have pictures of their innovation project stuff, or they might have a robot design board. On really good years, they'll have a robot design board and they'll have pictures of the parts or the features and some coding. You can print out the coding. They're just trying to understand, how did the kids come up with this stuff? I would say, don't be afraid to use existing designs, but you want to give them credit. My favorites, timelessons.org. They're the same robots as in, it's called flotutorials.com. They're the same guides, so they're the same robots.
Yeah.
But those are good robots, also in the Spike software. So they're good, and then your kids modify it from there. They'll take a base robot, and then as they're trying to work on the mission, they'll say, I need something that will do this, and they'll go back and build that and attach it. Perfect. That goes into their robot design judging. They're gonna show the judges that they added this, that they changed that because of this problem they ran into, and that whole iterative design process engineering. Okay, so all these scores are going into the official judging software, and it goes into this, and they're going to crank out numbers at the tournament. But these core values, things we mentioned, these little cogs, they're going to go in and they're going to help with the core values judging. The other thing that's going into core values judging is at the game table, when the kids are playing the robot game, the refs are watching to see how the kids are doing there. If they're, when they get stressed, things happen. We have had the most catastrophic robot runs sometimes. They always happen at state, by the way. The robot will be fine, and then and kids get disappointed. We get that. That's okay. When they turn on each other, that's not so great. We don't want that. So refs are watching, and sometimes you see teams that are extraordinary. They're great sports. They're just like awesome. And the refs are watching that. Thumbs up. And they're also watching to see if one team member is elbowing friends out of the way. I got this move, That's not what we want. And they're kind of watching that too. That's all going to go into core values judging from the robot game table. There's a place on the score sheet. Okay. And that just shows you where each line on the rubrics is feeding into one of the core values.
Yes, it links the core values for each of those questions. We look at the rubric in through.
Okay, there's just two terms at first came up with that you'll see pop up a lot. One is cooperation, although kids on my team tend to call it Coopertition because Cooper. I have never broken them from that.
See a dash in between.
I think they just find it amusing. The other one, and the cooperation is, you see that mostly, it's most obvious in First Tech Challenge because two robot play against two robots in an alliance, two alliances, and then you get swapped around. And in this one, it's harder to see. First Lego League, And in all of them, gracious professionalism is huge, and you'll see this. And the basic idea is nobody can exactly define it. Everyone has a different take on what it is. It's kind of, good sportsmanship on steroids, we want them to all try really hard to do really well. Oh, you need a charging cable? Hang on, I think I have one over here. Oh, here you go. So it's, you're trying to win, you want the kids to work hard, but you also want them to win because their best was better than the other team's best, not because the other team's robot broke or any of that kind of stuff. So it's funny to be watching at World Championship. I tend to work at high school at Worlds. And, the team from Kazakhstan 2 years ago showed up at one of the lowest matches with a piece of plywood instead of a wheel. And as soon as the match was over, like 6 people came running up from different teams, and the language barrier was real, but everybody was trying to figure out, what do you need? What do you need? They were back up and running the next match. And that's just how it works. My first tournament, somebody walked in the door here, FLL, never dropped the robot. That's like, dropped the robot. Everyone scrambled, picked it up, parts, found the book that was the robot design that they had, and was trying to help them get it back together. We all want everybody to have a good time with this game. Okay. Questions at this point?
Yeah. This for,
Does anybody
Yeah.
online have one?
yeah, people on Zoom too.
Mitch is gonna pull you back up so we can see.
Yeah,
Everybody good?
there's just 4 in here, so.
Okay,
So-
we're gonna keep rolling then.
All right, it's here.
All
The
right,
innovation project better describe the innovation presentation.
say it again.
Innovation project is more akin to a presentation.
Yeah, it is. So the project itself, we talk about being that entire, identifying a
the
problem, all
process,
that, but that's that
But the product,
5-minute presentation. And it's 5 minutes, so it's 5 minutes from start to finish. We really would love to give them slack. We really can't give them much slack on the 5 minutes because then it puts the rest of the schedule behind. So we really want to hold them to 5. It's hard though, because they get very excited about their topic. And the first time we went, I had one team that went, thankfully, we did a dry run, giving a presentation to a bunch of Girl Scout leaders, and at 12, I was like, holy mackerel, we better go back and do some work on this. So make sure you give them a chance to run through that several times beforehand.
So that was kind of everything where we're headed. That's the tournament, that's kind of the end goal, that's kind of where we're gonna end up. So the next part we were gonna kind of talk about was kind of how to, like, what does your day-to-day, week-to-week look like to
Before-
get there, yeah.
could I ask you more?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the robot game, do we have an idea what that looks like? I've never seen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, and when I'm done with this, if I still haven't answered that question, let's talk more about what that looks like, okay?
The robot design is a presentation, it's more.
It is a presentation or just questions and answers, depends on, that one's, is like, some teams will come in with this very formal presentation, all the way to,
This guy, yeah,
little kids like.
Explaining it.
robot. And then the judges will just ping them with questions.
Yeah.
Ping, I'm not ping, they're very nice about it, but ask me questions.
Yeah.
So that one's not, the innovation project, they really do need to create a presentation or the judges don't know what to ask them. This one, the judges will be able to get what they need out of it.
and
with the robot.
the mission models.
The mission models will show you.
Those are examples?
Those
or-
are exact, you will have the
Those
parts
are
to
ones
make
from
those.
this year, so
So
when
you have to make, we have to replicate them.
Yeah, and there'll be a slide and I'll show you what you get. and
Yeah,
then
so when you register a team, every season there's a new a new robot game, there's a new kind of season and theme and everything, so this season being Submerged. When you register your team and you buy other stuff, which we'll get into, there's a map that you get and it comes with like 33 Lego bags. And you sit and you build, it gives you all the pieces you need and everything to build the entire mission model, all the mission models, all the game, everything. and it tells you how to set it up, you set it up. And then that's what your team will use in the day-to-day to practice and try things and experiment and kind of iterate to create their robot. Because it's the exact same thing that they're gonna see when they walk into Centennial Hall on December 14th to then do it against other teams. So you'll get,
Do they have instructions for mission models?
yes, so it's
I'll
all,
show you where those are.
So it's like a, okay,
yeah,
It's just like a big fancy Lego set.
yeah,
no, I just don't know how the game works at all.
Yeah, we'll show you.
yeah,
We'll get
it's,
there.
yeah.
We'll get there.
yep,
And the last half hour, we're gonna walk you through the entire game.
we have it all
We're
set
gonna
up
go
over
over
there,
it.
so we'll be able to walk all through that.
Okay, so as a coach. Have fun. Ideas, you guys have fun too. We're playing with Legos here, guys. It's good. It'll be fun. We want you to handle the logistics of things that kids can't do. Register team. You're gonna register your team. You may or may not be the one to actually do it. I'm betting Harborview, you guys probably. Well, Puna might. We'll just need to talk with your school and see who's doing what as far as registration goes. Yeah, that's a conversation we need to have. When Paulette was in there and you guys typically ran teams, she registered your teams, got them on set, registered for the tournament. They did all that stuff, but the funds were coming from the school. Things are a little different right now, budgets and all that kind of stuff. So we're having to do a little more work in that out, but we'll get that figured out. You guys will need to make sure your team members register. We'll show you how to do that.
Very easy.
You guys have to get yourselves registered and screened first. And we'll also show you how to do
It's
that.
very easy to do that.
We're gonna have to have that conversation about how to pay for this stuff.
We talked to the
So,
school,
and
there's
we'll-
funding and kind of what they get
Yeah.
pulled together.
We'll work on that. You're just guiding the team members and herding along. You have the big picture. And they get caught up in building over here, and then you're trying to like move them on to the other things that need to happen. So some of it's just kind of getting them on task and helping them to see the other things that need to happen.
Yeah,
You're trying to help them think. They would love to just do and not think. Was reminded of that again Tuesday when I met with my team, that if they could just not think, they would love it. Our goal is to get them to also think. So all I do is ask them a lot of questions all the time. I never want to tell my kids, I don't want to be the source of their innovation project topic. I don't ever want to be the person that came up with the idea for their project, or which design they want, for their, how they're coding something. I don't want to be the person that told them. I don't want to tell them how to do it. I want to ask them questions so they figure out what they want. And if they come up with something that's really crazy, I'm gonna ask them questions so that they figure out why that might not be the best idea. But I'd rather not ever be the one telling them they should do this instead. You know what I mean?
coaches in a lot of regards are kind of designed to be very hands off. Like it's something that you're guiding the kids along, but it's something that they're running through and they're kind of doing on their own. Allison always talks about the fact that her kids would come to her with questions like, can we do this in the can we do this when they're designing something with a robot? She goes, I don't know, what does the robot game rulebook say? Does it say you can't do it? Or just gonna go look at the rulebook? You're kind of always just pointing them to resources, and then being there is just kind of a supervision to make sure they don't like light things on fire. Like
Well, I go with them. So you'll go to look at the book together, but I'm pulling them back into the resource. So I just asked a lot of strategic questions. Now, I will say that as time gets short, you might end up being a little more directive than you otherwise would. Like, we're not going to get here. Here's the shortcut.
Yeah.
That won't work. because of this. Go look at this. But what you want to do is as much as you can, you're trying to get them to explore and come up with these things on your own. And I find that questions are the very best way to do that. Okay, so you're gonna want to complete your own registration. And there is a youth protection program that requires a background. It's a pretty quick and simple one. I'll show you in a minute how you can tell if you are all set, but you will initiate this, and then when two of you, lead coach 1, lead coach 2, are in there, then you can invite kids, and I'll show you how to do a QR code and or send a link to parents, and they'll register straight in your team, which makes it easy, which is not how it was 2 years ago.
We
So
will-
they have started.
We will also be able to
something
give these, we will have these
Yeah.
presentations be sent out to you guys too, so you guys will have all this information, references and all the like, how
Okay.
to go through and do everything and like.
else. All right, let's see, this is these are multiple screens of the dashboard. So when you go to firstinspires.org, and then you click up at the top, there's something that says dashboard or
My dashboard,
my dashboard.
it says my dashboard.
Okay.
Mhm.
You can click there. If you haven't started an account yet, it'll give you the chance to start an account. And pick an email address that you will use for a long time. And then that's what a dashboard with a bunch of teams looks like. Up at the top, you see it says Allison Cooper, hello, Allison Cooper, and there's some red. That's what you don't want to see. If it has red, that means there's something that you still need to do. So after you get all going and you've gone through what you think is all set with the youth protection, go back and look up there and see if you see red. If you see red, click it. And then that drop down arrow, and it will guide you and show you what you still need. Most of the phone calls I get with like, I can't figure this out, are in youth protection right there. And then they can find their way through. So there's something down in the middle of that says team contacts and roster. And in that same screen, and if you went down in there, there's a button, which I'm not
You didn't put in
seeing
that.
in the moment. I think I cut it out, but it says manage contacts. So if you manage your contacts, one of the things you can do is you can invite youth participants after you have your 2 lead contacts. There's a button right there that says express. It's right under where it says youth members.
Remember.
Well, it's that top button up.
Yeah, there's all.
Nope. Youths, right here.
That, yeah.
It's fuzzy on the screen there, screenshots, you know. But that says express enrollment button. If you click the express enrollment button, and it's also on the side that says
Yeah,
express
it's here.
enrollment. But that will bring up a screen, you give it a name. Which is kind of like, what? It says invitation title, what? Just give it a name. Whatever your team name is, or Harborview, or whatever, it doesn't matter. There's a date down there, go give that a date that's into the future a while. The default is stupidly soon. And then it expires, and then you have to do it again. But give it a date that's like February, or at least after the tournament. And then you'll save it. And once you do, it shows up on a list. And then there's a button there, link.
You can link it or you can view it as a QR code. And effectively what this does, this allows parents to be able to go in, because everybody needs to be, they have a consent and release form, and for adults, there's the like YPP registering. This allows the parents to complete for their children the consent and release forms, which are required before you can attend events and tournaments. You'll bring a completed team roster with you to the tournaments, as part of your check-in process. It's a very quick, easy thing for you just to hit a button to print your team roster. But in order to be able to do that and have everything set the way it should, the parents of each child you have on the team have to complete this for their child. So if the parents come to the meetings or they show you, you just pull up that QR code, say, hey, scan this real quick and fill out this 30-second form that says we can take pictures of your kid, you can say yes or no.
You can also just send them a link, it says copy.
Or,
link,
yeah.
So you can email a link. So it's like 2-minute registration, it's like
Yes.
registering a kid for soccer or whatever.
Super easy.
Used to be a painful process, and they made it much easier and shorter. Okay, so team meetings, everybody's different. I meet for once a week for 2 hours. That's a commitment I made years ago with the Girl Scout teams. I'm regretting it at the moment because I started really late. And I'm looking at the number of weeks left before December 14th, and I'm going, oh crap. So it's pretty tight. You guys might want to think about, if you're starting right now, you might want to think about twice a week. Because there's a lot of stuff to do.
We just gonna.
Every
day.
So, and there are teams, a lot of teams will do it at a certain increment, and then when it gets really close, they'll meet more frequently, like, oh shoot, it's coming fast. Do whatever works for your crowd. I do once a week because our kids are historically so insanely busy that I just say, we're just gonna do whatever we have, and once a week, that's what we're gonna do. The team meeting guide, which is a resource that First puts out, has 12 2-hour meetings. I'll just say that. Okay, so that'll be a little bit of a guide for you. Those resources are for you to use however you want. You can use it exactly like it's written. You can pull bits and pieces from it. I would, at least in the team meeting guide, I would look at the beginning of it because it's got some really good overview. This is kind of how this is, what this is about, kind of things. This is the summary of where you're headed, kind of thing. But then, I mean, there's like PowerPoint slides for every session if you want
The
online.
resource page, yeah.
There is, or you can go, that was great. Okay, next, and do your own thing. It's a tool you can use or ignore. When you register a team, which we'll have to work with the school and get that done quickly. Ignore the class pack book over there. You don't have that. You're not gonna do a class pack.
Yeah.
But we have, you're gonna get the box. And in a big long 4-foot box, there's a mat. And then bags with all of the parts to build what you see there. And then that funny brown rectangle over in the corner it's called dual lock. It's magic Velcro stuff. They're all the squares are the same, so there's not like
It's like 3M
like a
short type,
hook
like-
and a loop side. It's all the same.
And
Those are what you're using to stick those mission models down on the table.
which we'll see when we go next door.
So that comes with the registration. The books come with the registration. The box is another order. It's a separate order.
Once you register your team, it'll pop up with a thing like, hey, like now that you've registered, go ahead and buy your challenge set. And it'll take there's a button you can click, it'll take you right to like the page basically to buy that and get that
Yes.
sent.
You are in Juneau, you are a Juneau school. 2 things happen. One is we use robots for camp. We have a whole bunch, and in the winter, they're bored. So we lend them back out to the school. So we have your robot. The other thing is that I have to buy a whole bunch of those for the tournaments. So I have a bunch of boxes of the Lego for right now.
So I think you have 8 in the
In
storage.
hand. So what I do is I'll typically lend that to you, and then when yours comes in, you give me back the other one. So you can get started and you don't have to wait for yours to come in. It's just like a little acceleration.
And then there's the Spike Prime kit is the kits we use for camp. There is also an expansion set. The expansion set's not required, but it is highly recommended. We do have expansion sets that we can.
So
lend
this is
out
the
as well.
robot kit, this is the expansion set. The thing, and I'm tapping this little bin, but it doesn't come in a bin. This is an old bin from an old robot. I put it in a bin, it comes in a plastic, cardboard box, which is not helpful. Many of the robot designs, most of the robot designs that our kids find require at least parts from the expansion set. So I would recommend that probably you will want to take the expansion set as well. Okay, so
And you guys have those from,
Yes, yeah, so we have
The camp.
So what-
in our storage room, we've probably got 15.
We are counting on Harborview being able, if you guys are good to make this happen. Yeah, well, you're not Harborview, but you're Harborview. And you guys have enough people to make this a go-to, so I can let you guys walk out with a robot. And. And a field,
And field today, yeah.
if you think you've got. A coach that's trying to help you and all that.
Yeah.
And we can make that happen, so that you don't have to wait on that part. Okay, this is the software, it's online. That link is the online version. If I like to download it onto my computer. We've had difficulty with the Chromebooks doing that. I don't know if they've managed to work that out yet or not. You guys at camp, you were doing it online. Okay, so online, it works.
Very,
Um,
very easy.
So that's the link, pops up. There are it pops up with two windows. Spike Essentials, the little kids, the Spike or the FLL Explorer, the other robot kit. Spike Prime is the robot kit you guys are using. You would choose that one. And then to start a new project, you have where it's circled over there and says new project. The kids like to hit the start button, and the start button walks you through some really cool little thing where you can program the robot to smile and whatever, which is all fun, but that doesn't actually help you program missions or anything. So like, don't hit that one.
Yeah.
New project. And then, that's what you get is over here. Word blocks is what you want, word blocks. And get them to name the program something logical. Something helpful, so that they can figure out what the heck it is later. They like to do like boom, you know. That's great, what's boom?
Yeah.
You know, and then. This is what the canvas looks like, and you're just dragging and dropping blocks. The software has tutorials in it. If you go to these, over on this other side, there's something down there, you can see it says unit plans.
Units.
You can go to unit plans and there's one that says competition ready, and it has some programming stuff there. You can look at that and see if you like that. I happen to like primelessons.org, but take a look and see what you like.
Listen, it is 11.
Okay. Okay. So I don't tend to use the team meeting guide, probably because I've been doing this so long that I can't make myself do it. I tried 1 year. At this point, would have my kids build the mission models. This is something that I don't think you have to have the kids do. Like, if you're tight on time, you could get someone else to build the mission models. The idea is the kids do the work, the intellectual work, the actual product that they're bringing to the tournament. They're not bringing their mission models to the tournament. They're using the mission models on their table to practice with. But they don't bring those to the tournament, although I may ask you, hey, you have your practice set so we can use it. So this could be something that you get some help from buddies or something and you build. The kids like to build the mission models. So what you might do is one practice or something, work on mission models, and then you go back and finish them or something. I'm letting my kids build next week also, and then I'm gonna finish them up somehow, because otherwise we'll still be at this halfway through the season. They have to be exact, because what is happening is you are using that to prep for the tournament. You're gonna use those mission models that are out there on your table at your school to get ready, and you're gonna want your robot to interact with them the same way they interact with the ones at Centennial Hall, as closely as possible. I will warn you, the lighting's different at Centennial Hall. So that could be, when you're using a color sensor, that could be an issue. Shielding, that's the thing. I usually put 2 kids on it. You know, one getting pieces, one keeping an eye on, you use your discretion on that.
Mhm.
I also, like the first time we meet, I'll play the robot game video, which I'll play for you guys, and we're gonna look at the missions. So you can see what are they supposed to do to score. The kids are going to look at the video as the, how it works, but really they need to be looking back at them. Robot game rule book, because it's, the wording in there is the real deal. I'll talk with my team about the missions. We'll look at the table after we have it built and figure out what's easy, what's hard. What would it take to do this? What would it, which ones look really super fun? I gotta do this. We're gonna look at possible robot designs and pick one. Some of this stuff is gonna be very accelerated for us this year. Those places that I said that, I like to have my kids look at are there.
No,
There's
like,
another place that I sometimes go that is a subscription service. I'm not gonna do that this year because the robots are more complicated and these guys are too young. And we don't have time. So, and then we need to get a robot built, and then we're gonna talk about the innovation project. That overview document had some sparks
right there, it's right.
in it. There are more resources when we hit the resources you can look at, and then there's a challenge story that, good luck. I couldn't figure out what it was. Jessie got mostly decoded. She's smirking. I don't think like that, but the idea is that there's some engineers and some oceanographers and people like that, and first have been putting out some videos. To spark, to give them ideas about the innovation project. And you know, if you have 8 kids and 1 robot, you can only take 1 robot to the tournament. I mean, you can only have 1 robot playing at the table. You could use a different robot the next match, but I wouldn't focus on 1 robot, get ready to go. So you have 1 robot, the other guy's working on the innovation project.
Mhm.
So I break mine into groups and I rotate them around. The team meeting guide will kind of show you some ways to do that. What was the bottom one? Teamwork challenge. I start mine with some kind of thing at the very beginning. Mix Legos in a pile. Okay, build. Tallest tower you can. You got 2 minutes, go. I never tell them which group builds the tallest tower. They're gonna naturally compete. I just say, build the tallest tower you can. 2 minutes. Or I throw paper out there. Build me. Same thing, tallest tower, go. Paper and tape. And or something that will hold. So like, I like to use Lego. I put a sheet out on the ground if you have a big team, or I had a little team, so Tuesday I had a beach towel. Had them stand on a beach towel, flip it over. You can't touch the ground, ground's lava. So they had to figure out how to turn it over while they're standing on it. Teamwork things, make them figure out how to communicate with each other. And make them laugh, giggle. We want them to have fun. Yeah. Okay. Navigation is more important than you can imagine. It is plastic. It's a toy. I feel like, was that Buzz? You're a toy. Anyway, no, Woody. It's Woody.
But yeah,
Anyway, they don't always drive perfectly straight. This is a trick. There's some things you can do about that, but definitely after it does a few things, it will be a little off. So the kids will say, I'm gonna go out and do this, and then I'm gonna do that, and then that, and that, and that, and that, and that, and that. And by the time it does about 3 or 4 turns, it's a little off. So you gotta find ways for it to straighten itself out. I like flat backs, so it can back up against a wall. There are mission models that it can square on. There are lines on the table that it can use color sensors to square on. There's not a lot of lines for it to follow this yet. But it can definitely find a line, and I know now that I'm here, or square on the line. There are ways for the robot to figure out where it is out there. So you'll wanna make sure your kids are not getting carried away with how much it's doing before it figures out where it is, or they're just gonna get frustrated. Your tournament, at the tournament, your team's gonna be split in half. There's 2 launch areas, one at each end, you'll see it when we go in there. Half your team will stand on this side and cheer. Half on the other side and cheer. 2 kids at a time can be up at the table working. We call those technicians. And they can be up at the table working. And then they can swap out, someone else can come up. So your robot's at this end, they send it out for a mission, it comes back, they send it out, and then it goes over there. These guys get it. They make a change, they send it out. And that's how it goes. But you got 2.5 minutes, so make those changes really fast. The kids have to have a super solid, reliable launch. I used to spend half the season trying to convince them that eyeballing won't work. And I swear I'm back to that again because I have a whole new crop of kids. There are many lines on the table and stuff. There's lines in that launch area, grid marks. The wall's there, but it's not on the other side. People make jigs out of Lego. You can use that. There's
Are those-
ways.
Allowed again?
You can use a jig. You'll have to look for exact rules about the jigs because
That got us in trouble a couple times. Some judges were okay with it, some weren't, so I would say.
you just have to
that
look.
well.
So one thing you can do with a jig is you can use it to get yourself set and then remove the jig. You can always totally do that, but everything that you bring up the table has to be a Lego. And you can have 1 sheet of paper with your notes. Everything else to be Lego.
Sorry,
But if they don't have it set perfectly every single time, it won't act the same way. And then you can't change the program to make it work if it's not doing the same thing every time, right? They can't, and they struggle to get that figured out. It'll come back and it was too far to the left, so I'm gonna redo it. And they change the program, and then it's too far to the right, and then they change the program, like, well, wait, time out. If it's not doing it the same way every time, don't change the program until you figure out why it's not doing the same way every time. And it's probably the launch, they gotta figure it out. If they can figure out ways to look straight down on it, or, work with them so that they got a straight. So that more than one person can actually look at it the same way and figure out, yep, you're locked in. I'm a fan of physically locking it in somehow, but. Like. Wall or something. Okay. All right, let's look at resources, because. This is what I really like. Okay, first off, don't panic. Don't panic. It's okay, it's all good. You don't have to be an expert on any of this, because lots of resources. Okay, this is your favorite page. This is how you get to it. Firstinspires.org, this thing up in the upper right. And you're gonna go programs, game and season.
And that's gonna bring you
Oh,
here.
programs, first Lego League, and then game and season. And then that's what you get to. You are challenge. Click that.
And that
If you hit. Discover season materials, that sounds great, but that's the Discover program. That's not what you're after. So challenge season materials, and then you end up with this nice list, and it's a very long list. It goes on and on and on. It has robot game rulebooks, it has this overview, it has rubrics, it has score sheets, it has.
Everything that's printed in front of you was gotten off of that resource page.
Pretty much, except the printouts that came from the dashboard. Maybe they came from there too, maybe. There's a ton of stuff
Yeah.
on there.
But yeah, so that's how you get to that.
So almost everything is that, and that's that first link, first resource page. The next one there, First in Alaska FLL page, so that's the JEDC webpage there. And we have stuff there, we have a resource page, we have some season updates that Mitch has been updating every week as opposed to every like, oh my gosh, I haven't updated this in a month and a half, that I was doing last year.
Every Friday around midday, I'll post updates in that regards to everything in First in Alaska, but specifically, like, I'll post updates that there's been a new, like, update and clarification for FLL, or if there's funding, or the dates have been scheduled for things, or we're hosting trainings. The First in Alaska FLL page, like our main landing page, there's trainings and resources, so like the recording of this and a couple other information sessions and other things will go into there. That also is a very good overview, so if you're talking to parents and they're like, what is it? Or wanting to know a little bit more information about just the program overall, you can direct them there, and that has a really good kind of simplified overview of generally like a who, what, when, where, why of First in Alaska FLL. The resource page, obviously, and then
Yeah, the resources page that we have is where, this is like, when I came on and took this job, it's like, as a coach, what do I use? There is 5,000 resources out there. There are FTC and the high school teams do outreach. And they all want to put something out there. And a lot of it's really good, but it's overwhelming. There's tons. The stuff that comes from like the FLL session, FLL tutorials, prime lessons, those kids, those guys, it was an FLL team, and then they went on it. The innovation project from a world champion FLL team. That's what, it was their innovation project. Yeah. So that page, it basically has the stuff that's like when I was a coach, I'm still a coach. Those are the things that I use.
Yeah.
There's tons and tons of stuff. YouTube videos can be really helpful. Here's my caveat. Don't let your kids go watch the champions with no context there. That they put on these amazing videos. They were practices. They probably ran that 12 times before they got one that was good. And no one in Alaska runs those like that. Nobody's gonna, we'll get a few missions done. So don't let your kids be discouraged by these amazing runs. Let them be inspired, but don't let them be discouraged because no one in Alaska is gonna do anything remotely like that. Okay? I've seen people go, oh, I can't do that. And then they get discouraged by some of the YouTube videos. Yeah, and also in your me 16.
The last link on here, the preparing for your event, that link is on the resources page. That's to a YouTube video made by First in Alaska, I believe.
No, by First. It's First.
Or by First,
Yeah,
that
the little guys.
is very,
Really
it
helpful.
kind of talks, yeah, it's very helpful. It talks a lot about kind of the like what you kind of walk into it and kind of what they're trying to do. It walks you through a lot of different things. That's kind of good to really watch with your kids. You're trying to show them, hey, like this is where we're kind of heading and going.
I would do that sooner rather than later. It's preparing for your event, but it's preparing in advance. It's like, this is what a tournament is, and this is where we're going. Okay. Project resources, lots of ideas, team meeting guide stuff. The mission models give you ideas, friends, family, anybody you know that works in ocean stuff, NOAA. Think about who you're, query your kids, who do you know? And a lot, they know somebody that works at NOAA, probably. Lots and lots and lots of resources.
That's
Okay, next one. This is for just a screenshot of FLO tutorials. There's lots of project ideas and stuff in there. Keeping in mind, this is a world championship team, but they have great ideas. That can give you some ideas on how to head in the right direction.
A lot of these specifically in this picture are very good for team overall. You can see up in the top, there's actually one page called Coach's Corner. Has a lot of really good documents for them specifically made for FLO coaches in like either like just starting out or a couple years in, like things to keep in mind, things that they found helpful, things that are gonna be very good. It's kind of like a landing page for coaches.
If you are on Facebook, FLL Share and Learn.
Yeah,
FLL Share and Learn is a group. Awesome. Core values. Yeah. And they tend to answer questions in ways to point you back to the right resources. Rather than just like, nope, that's not allowed. Yes, that's okay. It's very much like, have your kids look at this, or have your kids think about this. It's the same guys that run FLO tutorials, and am I a fan? Yes, I'm a fan. Those guys are great. Okay, and this is where we're headed. I mean, this is the point right here. We use this as a hook, this robot. We build all these other things in the kids. Okay, questions right now, and then we'll watch the robot game video.
me,
Anybody online have a question?
well, we are, make sure, okay, that's just the last.
Chat, there's chat
Oh,
stuff, is
chat stuff,
it?
hello. Oh,
Is it
perfect.
just telling us?
Yeah, I had them send
Okay.
something in, if you could send a thing,
Okay.
fantastic.
Cool,
Awesome.
all right,
Let me pull up that video.
all right. This is the full game video. If you're just trying to recruit, like show kids, this is gonna be fun. Trying to get them that, there's a short,
Like 2
it
minutes.
says season reveal, and it's, just really upbeat and, catchy, and shows the mission models with some stuff and some ocean stuff behind it. That's the reveal video. This one is okay, pay attention, the missions are coming. Now, you'll look at it and you'll go, okay. Then when you look at the board makes more sense. Then after you have had some time with the board, the video makes a lot more sense. It's one of those things where
Kind of going back and forth between a couple different things.
after
We'll,
I actually gotten to play with the board a little bit.
And then-
It's
but we'll watch this and you guys
Yep.
can, we'll go next door and you can kind of get your hand.
This is the submerged competition field. There are 15 missions that can be done in any order. You do not have to complete all the missions. Just try as many as you can in each 2.5-minute robot match. Only the score from your best match will be counted. Your robot must start completely inside a launch area, and you should program it to return to either home area. You can handle and modify your robot between runs while it's completely inside either home area. Gracious professionalism is how we express our core values in First LEGO League. The robot game is an important place to observe gracious professionalism, and the referees will evaluate this for your team at each official robot match. Equipment inspection. Your robot and all your equipment must fit into both launch areas and under a height limit of 12 inches. If it is small enough to fit in just one launch area and under this height limit, your team will score points. Mission 1, Coral Nursery. Set up the nursery to grow new coral until they are strong enough for the transport to the reef. If the coral tree is hanging on the coral tree support, bonus, and the bottom of the coral tree is in its holder. If the coral buds are flipped up, Mission 2, Shark. Track this tagged shark on its journey to new feeding grounds. If the shark is no longer touching the cave, if the shark is touching the mat, and it is at least partly in the shark habitat. Mission 3, Coral Reef. Carefully mount the new coral structure without damaging other nearby flora. If the coral reef is flipped up, not touching the mat. If a reef segment is standing upright outside of home and touching the mat. Mission 4, Scuba Diver. Help the scuba diver transport new coral from the nursery to the reef. If the scuba diver is no longer touching the coral nursery. if the scuba diver is hanging on the coral reef support. Mission 5, Anglerfish. Scare the anglerfish back into its home within the sunken shipwreck. If the anglerfish is latched within the shipwreck. Mission 6, Raise the mast. Raise the mast to restore the sunken shipwreck and explore what's inside. If the shipwreck's mast is completely raised. Mission 7, Kraken's treasure. Retrieve the chest from the shipwreck to recover a piece of our history. If the treasure chest is completely outside the Kraken's nest. Mission 8, Artificial habitat. Rearrange the artificial habitat stacks to create safe homes for sea creatures in this area. If an artificial habitat stack segment is completely flat and upright. Mission 9, Unexpected encounter. Investigate the hydrothermal vent and deliver the sea creature that takes a special interest in you to the cold seep. If the unknown creature is released. If the unknown creature is at least partly in the cold seep. Mission 10, Send over the submersible. Sometimes you need a specialized vehicle to withstand the immense pressure of the deep. Send the submersible to explore the opposing field's waters. If your team's yellow flag is down. If the submersible is clearly closer to the opposing field. Mission 11, Sonar discovery. Use the ship's sonar technology to scan the surroundings for nearby objects or animals. If one whale is revealed. Bonus, if both whales are revealed. Mission 12, Feed the whale. Krill are a whale's favorite food. Collect the krill and feed them to the hungry whale. Krill at least partly in the whale's mouth. Mission 13, Changing shipping lanes. Adjust the cargo ship's route to safely avoid whale migration paths by moving to another shipping lane. If the ship is in the new shipping lane, touching the mat. Mission 14, Sample collection. Collect samples and artifacts from different locations in the ocean so they can be analyzed by scientists in the lab. If the water sample is completely outside the water sample area, if the seabed sample is no longer touching the seabed, if the plankton sample is no longer touching the kelp forest, if a piece of the trident is no longer touching the shipwreck, bonus, if both pieces are no longer touching the shipwreck. Mission 15, Research vessel. Deliver the samples and artifacts that your team has collected to the research vessel and securely dock it at the port. If any of the following are at least partly in the research vessel's cargo area: treasure chest, trident parts, each sample, if the port's latch is at least partly in the research vessel's loop. Precision tokens. The less you interrupt your robot outside home, the more points you will keep. If you interrupt your robot outside the home area, you will lose a precision token. Precision tokens left on the field at the end of the match will result in extra points. Remember to read the Robot Game Rulebook and check for any updates during the season. Good luck!
Okay. So that goes fast and you're like, what? And it makes a lot more sense when you put your hands on this stuff. So we'll go into the other room and we'll look at that. When we do, grab your, when you're done, come back and grab. We put this pile of stuff here so you can see the instructions for express enrollment are here. You take your score sheet in the other room so you can look at that. Judging session flow charts here for you to take with you.
And for those of you-
rubrics are here.
For those of you on Zoom, we are going to be taking an iPad over and kind of walking around so you guys can see that as well. So we'll kind of walk through everything
But
over there.
Bring your score sheet and we'll grab all these robot game rule books so that we can take a quick look in there if we need to look. And then don't forget the update. I think I coached for 2, maybe 3 years before I even knew these things existed. And sometimes they matter, like, oh, look at that. So every once in a while, they come up with an update, so keep an eye out, especially if you're getting close to that. You'll want to look for this. Before every practice, I check for an update. So let's take those in.
Yeah, let's go.
If you need to take a quick break on our way, we're just gonna go next door. We'll go through this.
Do you wanna go set that up? We can set that up on the other side, just to get it at least prepped for now.
And we have, if we have a little bit of time at the end, we'll connect a Spec Prime robot up and you guys can tinker a little bit so you can see how that would work.
The only lingering question for me is I don't know when Harvard's doing what or if and who's on the team. I don't know any members.
Okay,
Or like.
we do have, we probably ought to chat with, so Mills is up there,
Or Alex as well, which I don't know.
yeah. So,
I don't even know if there's students involved.
okay. So,
This is my first interaction with anyone.
okay, all right,
Yeah, I'm like in the same boat as.
Yeah.
yeah, and there's a,
Thing,
Yeah.
yeah. You
which
have
I'm sure
a-
I'm not.
You have like a stack of people though that are on your,
Yeah, there's already a
You're-
list of populations.
you're Riverbend, right?
Yeah.
yeah, so it's nice because Josie's at the school and so I
Is
think,
Josie a coach as well?
no, but she's somehow on the staff.
Okay, yeah,
And so she's like.
Yeah.
Knows people. She was, I think when, did they walk into the office? Trying to think if Mitch went into the office and he was talking. to oh, and so and so, and so and so, and so and so.
yeah,
So you got that.
it's plugged in a little bit.
Yeah, so this is the mat. It's a big 4x8.
All right, we go in here.
It's a big 4x8 mat. It's kind of hard to get in one big like angle. You can kind of get an overview.
Try it
of-
and corner.
Yeah, so let me see if I can.
Corner. Okay. And, okay, so what we'll do is we'll take a look at the missions that are on here. So a couple of quick things to start with before we get rolling with it. This is what we were talking about. Your kids will stay back from the table. There'll be a box at the tournament, a line. About where I'm jammed up against here. And they'll be lined up, be a line here in the middle, and they'll be back. You as a coach can come and watch. It's kind of not like football. So you're not really coaching them from here. This is theirs. This is their day, they go. So when I'm there, I'm like, you got this. If I say anything, usually I'm just recording the match. Unless it goes south, in which case I turn it off and I don't keep that one. I go for a better one. So your kids will be here
Jesse.
and over here. Anything that is in, so this is the launch area. Your robot, I meant to bring the robot.
They're both launchers.
They are. Your robot is let me get the other one because it has more things to stick out. Your robot and everything about it has to be completely in that launch area. So if I back this up against a wall, which is a terrible robot to do that with because it's got one beam, but if my cable's sticking over, that's out. So table control is important, also because you don't want to catch things on your way through. Okay, people ask, if the arm being out, yeah, that's out. Everything has to be in here. If you're pushing something, which you might choose to do, if you were trying to deliver something out there, you might have a thing. The thing has to be entirely in as well. Jesse was talking about a jig. A jig's allowed. You can build something with Lego, set it in there, or if you were trying to go this way, you might build something with Lego here that you can kind of lock your robot in with. And then you might move it and send it. If it had to extend here, like if you sent something, built something with Lego that went out here, you could set it here, get your robot set up. But then you'd have to move it because your jig is over here. So you'd have to move it. Keep in mind, when this is set up, and it will talk you, field setup. There's a video that talks about field setup. They hid it, which is silly, and it should be in a different place. When you go to get the instructions for building your mission models, you follow the link on that list of challenge, or that challenge
Resources page.
resources page there. Down there, there's something that says building the mission model building instructions. Click that, it sends you to a whole different page with a whole bunch of stuff. One of the things on there is a setup video. It will tell you how to set everything up on this table. This is the first year they've done that. There's also a document that is on that main page. It tells you this mat is supposed to be centered this way, and it should be flush up against this table, this wall.
And believe it's
Tables are a little, there's some variables in these tables, right? They're just over. So, you have to make sure your kids recognize that. And so if they build a jig that goes to here and they get to the tournament and the mat's not perfect, they can ask the ref to check it politely and respectfully. But they also might have to make some quick adjustments if they realize it's not working quite the same way. They just might be flexible. And if you get to state those tables, they've had a rough life. I watch every time we look up. Okay, so your kids started in here. They send it out. This is the eyeballing that I'm talking about. They'll insist. This is on that E. Great. And they'll get the position perfect, but the angle, they won't realize the importance of the angle. So anyway, so they'll get the robot, they'll put the robot out, it'll go out and do a mission. If it comes back, once it's in here or here, and the same over there, you can grab it. The kids can grab it. They can make any change to it they need to. Send it out again.
It is a 2.5 minute,
It's all the 2.5.
Yep.
It's on rolling.
and it's not cumulative scores, right? It's just one mission.
Yep. Soon as, so it all gets scored at the end of the match. So as soon as it's all done, the refs score it. So
Yeah, it's any one mission, the highest score of any one mission.
no,
of
so
each-
it's
of any one match. Yeah.
so
okay,
they
so
there's
it's not
three separate 2.5 minute periods. In that 2.5 minute period, they can take that entire 2.5 minutes. They have to try and complete as many of these as they want to or can to get
But
as many
this is
points.
just 3 sessions though.
Matches.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
does each one add up to each other?
No, so they're three
The best of
individually.
one.
The best of those three is what ends up being kept as the final score.
So, and you can unscore yourself, right?
Mhm.
Do it and then, it all gets scored at the end. So if they grab it and it's not quite out, so, or if it gets hung up out there, the book used to say, calmly pick up the robot. Nobody calmly pick, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Anyway, they can get their robot. The only thing that happens is the referees take a precision token.
And you have
If you
6
look
of them,
here,
yeah.
On the actual scoring, if they lose one, they won't actually lose any points. If they lose more than one, they'll start to lose some points. But they start with like 60 points free,
Yeah, if you do
and then they
nothing,
start to lose.
Exactly, yeah. If you don't ever touch your robot outside of,
Yeah, if you
that's my
didn't,
strategy.
if you did nothing,
Just never touch it.
you would score
3
60
tries.
points for this, you would score something for
you
the
would score-
equipment inspection, and you would
So-
score some for these
and-
circle corals,
and-
not.
I would say, and that's part of the rules, because actually when we were listening and kind of walking through it yesterday, we were making sure that we knew what we were talking about. And it says for one of these, for these coral pieces, there's 3 of them. If they are standing up outside of the home areas, which they already are, mind you, in their current state, you get 5 points for it. As long as they do not make their way into the home area or fall over, you automatically get 15 points for that.
And if they get their way, I mean, a lot of times teams, a strategy will be to go get them, get something, bring it back so that you can then put it back in a
Don't they
place.
have
that
to be
makes
out of the
sense.
circle though?
This
So,
so this one does, like, it would say like, oh, if this is outside of the circle, you get 5 points.
and we'll go through each mission here.
But for ones like this, like, it makes the thing, it's like, as long as they're standing up and not in a home area, you get points for that.
And then, so on the table, as we go through them, keep an eye out for things that are, what they have is, they design the table with, a third they want to be easy, a third they want to be hard, and a third they want to be somewhere else. I'm thinking the
Immediate,
ones where you score automatically, they're calling easy, I would like for them to actually have things for the kids to do that are easy too. There are a few.
I would say, yeah, we'll highlight those as we go through and kind of walk and talk through them.
If, if the robot is out there and it's stranded, they can just go get it, they restart it. Either side can go grab it. So a strategy could be your robot does a mission, and then it stops. The other side comes, grabs it, you lose a precision token, but now these guys have it. Otherwise, these guys run the robot over there, run a mission and over, or they just have a program that brings up
Just runs it straight across.
4 seconds, and then these guys have a chance to run some. missions.
So are you making like a program to try to just do a mission or 2 at a time?
Yeah.
I think
There,
And so
the,
you'll load it on here.
there's a,
When you, there are numbered slots. Pardon me. There are numbered slots on here, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and
and there's
10.
hot,
And you
Yeah.
just load your programs into the slots. And so the kids will just run one.
and it could be something like, even within some of those, you could have like, in your code, say you have something on 10, and then within that, you've got 2 things that says, okay, set it to 10 and press the left button, and that goes and does one thing. Or you set it to 10 and press the right button, it does something else. So you can create a lot of kind of miniature little things to go and do individual missions. Or if you wanted to say, like, that's our reset one. If you want it to run across, set it to 10 and hit the right button, and it'll run it in a straight line across whatever. You can set it to do that. The kids just have to code it.
I think 20, in essence, there's 20.
So there's effectively like 20.
That's code I would call it.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
can do more than that if you do some tricky programs.
Yeah.
You do
Yeah,
what we called,
Elementary school students.
yeah,
well, yeah, and some of ours were to just, you can use switches. And then have like a button or even have a color.
yeah.
If you would screen run this, yeah, I mean, they can.
Go
One thing I
run.
love about Spike Prime software is, I teach a kindergartner to run the robot. But also it can do some insanely sophisticated stuff, and the
Mhm.
entire CAD is on there, so it's really
Mhm.
nice and flexible like that. Okay, so let's run through these programs. Jesse,
Yeah.
read me off. Do you have
Give her
a score sheet?
Give her this.
This is
Read
mine.
me off all right, so the first one is just the inspection,
Yes.
right? I guess just read them off the way they are.
Okay, so equipment inspection is the pre-match robot in all equipment, but completely in one launch area and under the height limit in one launch area.
Okay, that's the extra points. Okay, so the robot rules say that all your equipment, and the equipment is everything you bring to the table. So all your equipment has to be able to fit in both launch areas. So honestly, you guys won't have all that much. Clearly fits easily, but some, if you go look on YouTube, some of these guys have these giant attachments that go and do 12 things at one time. Some of it got really crazy. So they made it a rule that had to be able to fit in this and that together. But you'll get extra points for being able to fit in one. I think the height limit is
12 inches a foot, yeah.
Okay, so clearly not a big
Yeah.
problem for most of us. Some no-brainer bonus points.
Yep.
Yay. Okay, next.
Mission 1 is the coral nursery.
Okay,
One way to get points, the coral tree is hanging on the coral tree support.
like that.
Mhm.
Okay,
And then you get more points if the bottom of the coral tree is in its holder.
okay, so if it's in there like that and it didn't come out of the little hole, okay?
And then the coral buds are flipped up.
And the
That's-
coral buds, that's these
that's
guys
these.
here. So this is one of those things. And tell me if you ever on these things, actually I should get a score sheet too. There's that little no equipment
There's a,
icon on the score sheet.
oh,
Yeah,
I'll show here. It's a
Coral
little,
nursery has one of those.
it's a
Okay.
little no equipment constraint.
If you had the coral nursery one does,
Yeah, it has the,
Okay,
it has the
so
constraint.
you're gonna look for this little, yeah, this funny little no, and it has a Lego brick.
Mhm.
And what that means is you can't have any equipment touching it. So equipment
At-
being anything you bring. So when they score at the end of the match, nothing can be touching it. So you can't leave something there to prop it or anything like that. Okay.
Yeah, so like you could use like a bar to like push that in, but then you couldn't have the robot like leave a piece there to make sure it doesn't fall back down.
That comes in also when you have like a cage or a box or something to bring something over. Sometimes that'll be something that teams will do.
Yeah.
And most of the time, so the opposite of that is to go like, most of these don't have that. So
Always just
sometimes
leave.
that's very helpful. Okay, next one.
All right, shark. The shark is no longer touching the cage. Okay.
Okay,
you
that was a little
don't have that
violent.
launch.
Yeah,
But he does slide pretty well off here. Now he's in this. Anything in this?
Yeah.
Your kids can grab. Now you have the shark.
yeah, you have
Okay,
control over the shark.
So that, and then what's the other part of the scoring?
And then you get more points if you have the shark touching the mat at least partly in the shark habitat.
It has
Shark habitat is here.
touching the
Yeah.
mat and at least partially in, so that comes into that like nothing can be touching it or it has to touch the mat. You can't put it, in previous years, you might see things where teams might put it in like a little bucket and carry it over, but it has to be touching the mat. So
So this could be a simple push or
and
something.
they set it to launch and just push it straight in
That's-
there.
Also not to say, this one does not have an equipment thing on it,
So
and
you
so
could-
you could build something with no bottom.
So you could enclose it. Okay,
And push them over.
all right.
So that's two.
Okay, and then coral reef, which is that one.
Oh.
The coral
Mhm.
reef
Not quite.
Yeah, I know, I was making sure you said.
is
Okay,
flipped up.
okay,
There you go. Not touching the mat.
okay, so that is
Like that.
that, like that. So I need to push it a little farther. Okay,
And then the number of reef segments standing upright outside of home and touching the mat, so.
standing upright outside of home, not touching the mat. So it doesn't.
Or
have to
touching the mat,
say-
yeah.
Or touching the mat. So it doesn't say they have to be in or out of any particular place, just touching the mat.
Mhm.
Okay,
Except this does have a no equipment thing.
okay, so you
I'm-
couldn't put something around it to keep it from
Mhm.
falling.
And you're not calling that home being the circle.
That's this or this.
Or
So
This is home.
so if this was here,
Yeah, yeah.
this would not score if this was over here. But if
So-
it's here, it'll score, it'll do.
Or
Yeah.
where it is, you just don't.
But if it's in your
Yeah.
way and you needed to capture it, do your things and then just put it back
Just
or something.
have a robot just push it just a little bit.
Okay,
out into the map.
what's next?
Scuba diver.
He's over here. So this is where the setup is, and he's set on here with a little
Pin.
axle. Go ahead.
So you get points if the scuba diver is no longer touching the coral nursery.
Oh, that wouldn't work because he's over there. Okay, a little farther off. Okay.
And then you get more if the scuba diver is hanging on the coral reef support.
You're there. That's that. Next.
Okay, so the next is the anglerfish, and you just,
That's
Okay.
this one.
Now,
anglerfish is
Let me hold it.
latched within the shipwreck.
okay, and that means past. Did you see that little yellow? This little yellow.
Like
They're
pin.
actually technically called lift arms, but we tend to call them beams. It's flipped. And that's what the refs are gonna be looking for, is when that dropped. I think that's probably what they're gonna be looking for.
Yeah, it says that, yeah, it has to be past that little drop arm.
Okay. So that guy goes in,
Very easy, simple push for that one.
so
What's the,
the trick with that one is gonna be getting around the corner. But that one's not a hard one, because that's just a driving one. Okay,
Then we're going to raise the mast.
okay. There was an update on this one.
yes.
It just means don't go too far. That's the, basically.
The shipwreck's mast is completely raised.
So if this goes up, and I'm telling you, just there was a little bit of a tug when I did it from one side. That doesn't mean it's impossible, but that does mean there was a little bit. of-
So you will score points if it's like this. They made an update where if it's back like this, you will not score points. They said it has to be resting on this little like L-shaped piece that's on the backside. And then to reset it, you just have that back down.
And then you have to go lift.
Yeah.
There's this red.
The the Kraken,
The Kraken.
and he goes up underneath. Yep, here,
Yeah,
and then drop the, and then pick that,
there we go.
and that has to sit and rest on top of that.
Stay.
And that will, what'll end up happening is because there's no, is it the next mission that has the getting the treasure chest?
Oh,
The next mission, so it almost becomes a two-part because they'll lift this and those legs might drop. The kids have to go in again and lift that. Alice, I don't know if you
Yeah.
can, yeah.
what's the
The treasure chest is completely outside of the Kraken's nest.
So there's that.
Lift that, so that's
And
that one.
completely outside, I'm gonna make a guess. If we looked at the rule book, it might tell you this line.
No, I believe it's just the black box. There's a
Okay.
little black box inside
I
of,
wonder what the line's for. Usually they have, oh, that may just be this. Okay.
yeah.
The setup. The lines on the table will help you with setup. Like for instance, I knew that this had to spin because of that angle. They do a pretty good job of using the mat to tell you where handles have to go and that kind of stuff.
yeah.
Set it up. Okay.
All right, next is artificial habitat.
Okay,
Yes.
we'll come over there.
And the number of artificial habitat stack segments completely flat and upright.
Okay, here's something that looked like, what? The deal is that these yellow guys are the bottom. So the bottom has to be down for it to count. So this is an untangling thing here a little bit. So those are all
This
down
would get
now.
you full points. And if you had it set where you only had, that would get you like 30 points there as opposed to the full 40.
Okay,
I'm
so it
going all around.
reminds me of one of those funny wooden puzzles.
Mhm.
Okay, that would give you 20, I think.
Yeah,
1,
20.
10,
1
then
and
there's the
2.
bottom, 20.
And if you were to do this, that's 30 there,
So
because you have 3 where the feet were on the
we
bottom.
do have some crabs that are facing the wrong way. We gotta fix that.
Fix
That's a
that.
setup issue on our part. We noticed
Next,
that yesterday, we didn't fix it.
Unexpected encounters.
Okay.
it's this one.
Okay,
So, go ahead, read off the criteria.
the unknown creature is released, so
Okay.
that's just.
Hang on.
You got that?
That's okay, wait. So, unknown creature, this is the unknown creature. Looks a little like a squid, but hey, whatever. So this is the one that I'm looking at going, when I go work with a brand new team, I'm gonna try to help them see this as being a super simple one. We're starting here. driving straight,
And
and
that's,
backing up, and they have points in 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Boom, boom. Okay, so help your kids see things that are super easy, and then celebrate that victory. Always celebrate your first mission of the year.
Mhm.
But that is gonna be probably your easiest score. Don't be deceived by point values. They don't necessarily correspond to how difficult a mission is. So sometimes difficult missions aren't worth very much, and easy missions could be worth more.
A decent amount, yeah.
They're not necessarily correlating to the difficulty.
And then next one
The
is,
second part of that is that
Okay.
the unknown creatures, at least partly in the cold sea.
so like this would count if just those two little legs were in that, as well as if he was fully in there.
So if they hit this thing squarely, they could back up, turn, and go if that's dropping in a way that is consistent and they had some way to scoop it or something.
Mhm.
Anyway, so they could look at that, but
Mhm.
boom, boom, start with that. Yay, got points, and then we can go from there.
Next.
All right, next is the submersible.
Okay, this one takes a little explaining. When you're at a tournament, there's always 2 tables, side to side. The launching is on the outside.
Opposite is
Okay.
180.
So this mission model is shared between 2 tables. Every year there's something that's kind of shared between 2 tables. Last year wasn't an actual model, but there was a mission that was sort of shared between 2. This time it's a model, it's kind of fun. Okay, what scores?
Your team's yellow flag is down.
Okay, and the yellow flag is, come over on this side, you can see the yellow.
Yeah, here. Come around this side here.
And what they're basically saying is you push this up. If you push this up far enough, then that lift arm or beam drops. And that's how you can tell that you've pushed it up. At the end of the match, they'll be able to tell you did it. So when that goes up, you know you've lifted it there. Okay, so that's the first part.
And then the second half is the submersible is clearly closer to the opposing field.
Okay, so it is slid. Now the other team could then come later, do theirs, it comes back to you. So your team might decide, let's do this on the
Mhm.
later end. It's a
Something like
strategy.
that, yeah.
By the way, you might notice at some point there is a chicken.
2 chickens.
Yeah, there's 2
There's
chickens.
Chickens in there because there's an FLL chicken thing. It's been going on for years. It's very strange.
And then next,
Okay,
Next is sonar discoveries.
okay. This was like whales. What? They're on the mat. So if you look down, okay, go ahead.
Number of whales revealed. is
Okay.
just-
So you turn it.
Yeah.
And if you turn it, there's a whale. And if you turn it farther, there's another whale.
underneath there. So as long as you have those 2 flipped up,
There's whales.
you'll get points for that.
I had to be like, what?
And then
And then we're at feed the whale.
feed the whale.
All
What's
right,
this one?
this is gonna be a little trickier. Okay, this is a 2-parter. Your kids might get really excited about this. I don't think I would use this as my first mission. Okay,
Crack.
go ahead.
It's just the,
I don't think I would use this as my 5th mission.
no. Be a lot. All it is number of krill, at least partly in the whale's mouth.
1, 2, 3.
4, and there's a 5th
5,
one
okay.
over there.
So I mean, it's easy enough to open his mouth. You just push that, but you're having to go and collect these rascals too. I don't know, maybe somebody will get this, but you're getting them in there. Okay. But there's multiple things that have to happen there.
Yes, there's a
I
lot.
can think of some teams that are going to get that or going to find that to be a really fun little challenge.
Mhm.
I do not want mine to be one of them because it's way over their heads.
And then
Okay.
next one,
All right, changing shipping lanes. Just
Okay.
a banana. The ship is in the new shipping lane touching the mat.
Okay. All you're doing is you're moving it over.
it could be, yeah.
So, I mean, have the kids try and manipulate the thing to by hand to do what it needs to do, and then have them think about what motion the robot has to do to make that happen.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's that. Next one.
And then sample collection.
All right. Sample collection. Oh, wait.
Sample collection, so this is a bunch of different parts to it.
Yeah.
So sample collection is 4 parts. There's one.
Right, but before that, wasn't there one what was the one where this had to not be in the circle?
That is sample
That's-
collection. We just talked about it earlier than
Oh, you're
usual.
right, not in
Um,
the circle. Okay.
So sample collection is 4 parts. So one is not,
So
that's.
read the word.
Yeah.
wording on it.
The water sample is completely outside of the water sample area.
Points.
It can stand up, it can
Can be.
stand on its head, it doesn't matter.
The
Don't go far. Over here.
seabed sample is no longer touching the seabed.
Okay,
The plankton sample is no longer touching the kelp forest.
okay,
And the number of trident pieces no longer touching the shipwreck.
So this is a 2-parter. So there's one here, this gets you points, bonus points if you're able to spin this around and both of these come out of the shipwreck. So they're down on the ground. And then the next, that's everything for that. And that has a no equipment constraint, correct or no?
Yeah.
Yes, it does. And then the next one,
Oh wait, no, the next one, research vessels.
Okay, wait.
Equipment. The
That
other
is-
one is fine.
that is not a no.
Smash into it as hard as you
Okay.
can.
yeah.
Sample
There's
collection.
something called field destruction, but okay.
Everybody just make a robot that just wreaks havoc.
I actually, there was an adult thing and it just spun and drove around randomly and did that. Yes, it was very funny, but
This is not allowed.
Yeah.
I would just cringe. It makes referees very unhappy.
And then last one is research vessel, which is.
Okay, research vessel.
So it's the number of samples, trident parts, or treasure chests, at least partly in the research vessel's cargo area. So I can get up to 6.
So the parts included in this
Okay.
are treasure chest, water sample, seabed sample, kelp forest sample, and then one and or both of the trident parts. One or more of the trident part pieces all go in there, and you don't have to get all of them. You could do 2, you could do
Points for
any,
any.
yeah, points for any that go in
Okay.
there.
And then,
And then the port sludge is at least partly in the research vessel sleeve.
So they push it through and gets latched there. And that's more points.
so,
And then the precision tokens.
and then the precision token, so you get points for any of those that are remaining. So an easy one is to just help your kids to not panic at the end and grab the robot if they really aren't gonna run another mission. If they run out of time, just let them leave the robot out there. Okay, so those are the missions. What you have is, we will give you, get the box with the bags, they're numbered, the instructions say you need bag 1 and 2, and you may need these extra parts, we'll have it listed, which is new. And then you build the mission model exactly, because you want it to work just exactly like it will at Centennial Hall or the gym where your tournament is being held.
And the instructions are very well written. Like there's, you'll look at the PDFs for some of the build instructions, you're like, oh my gosh, this is like 60 pages, but it's because you're putting like 1 Lego piece on per step. And
Okay.
but they are they're a little just tedious to put together because there is 15 of them, but they're not necessarily in of themselves hard to build. I would say honestly, the most complicated one to build, just because there's a lot of direction stuff, is this one. This is probably the one you're gonna have to, just when you build it, just pay attention to directions, because of the way it has to flip and everything else. Everything else is pretty self-explanatory, not that hard to build.
So when we're talking about resources and we're about done, we have, so Mitch here in Juneau and, or I can, and Jesse for a while can hop over and give you a hand. In Anchorage, Jesse will be back up in Anchorage at some point. So anybody in Anchorage that needs a hand, Jesse might be able to still give you a hand there. Also have tons of volunteers up there, and some of them have some flexibility. Our head ref is dying to help people.
I'm gonna say, anybody else in the
We have-
state, we could jump on Zoom.
You can absolutely hop on Zoom. I zoom into people's practices a lot. It's just a thing. We also have high school teams that are chomping at the bit for some outreach opportunities, and they have done First Lego League, many of these kids, and they want to help. And I have two, and I know I have a third team here in Juneau that really wants to help. Two of them sent me paperwork yesterday to show you guys. The third one, it's been a week or two since I talked to them, but I know that they're eager and they have some homeschoolers. So they can actually, like right after school, or they have, more flexibility during what would normally be a high school time. So what I would love to do is help connect you guys with these high schoolers. They are awesome, helping your kids build mission models, helping your kids build robots, programming. A number of the ones in Juneau are my camp staff. So they've been coding all summer, and that kind of stuff. So lots of help. JD's got 7 teams over there right now. So all 3 of these teams that I'm talking about are from JD. And so if you're downtown, that's easy, but I mean, the kids live all over now, right? So getting out to the valley is not tricky for them either. Most of those 7 teams were Thunder Mountain teams this year. So,
Yeah, I think that pretty much.
So I can give you that info. So, as far as the general wrap up online, do you guys have any questions that we can help you with? And definitely, especially because you guys are close, we can pop in and give you a quick, coding when you
Absolutely,
guys
yeah.
are ready to do that, or anything else you need.
Absolutely. I don't think there's any
Okay.
more questions or anything. Bless you. Yeah, I think that
Okay.
pretty much wraps this up, I think. Is there a question that you guys have?
I just need to connect with our
Okay.
review people. I just
We'll
Yeah.
do that.
don't know who's doing what.
So why don't we get, we'll talk here after we get off the, we shut down the recording.
Yeah.
For the training and stuff, and maybe set up a time to meet with
Here,
the
I'm
two
gonna
of
give you
you
this.
guys. So maybe we can talk right now and figure out at least a plan forward from here. And then, you guys are Fridays, right? Fridays. That part we have, Fridays, and we can get some info out there. I did connect with your principal.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's like, knows this is happening
Yeah.
and, once, kind of like, let's figure out where we are and then we'll figure out what we need to do. So,
Alice, you want me to stop the recording?
yeah. All right, thanks.